All right, let's get started. And so, my first question is, how do I start unlearning the employee mindset that I've built my life around and around it for decades? All right, so, let's just hit the truth, I guess, is you were programmed. You weren't educated, programmed to be obedient, not free. And that's what we're programmed about money, from kindergarten to your HR handbook that you get when you're an employee. The message is sit still, don't question, save in a 401k, retire at 65, and pray nothing bad happens, and worry and have hope, and hope you don't run out of money between 65 and whenever you might die, right? And just kind of your life goes downhill. Stop working out, stop doing all the things that make you healthy and happy and wealthy. But that's the problem, is that system of money is not built for you. You're the host, and the banks and the government and Wall Street, they're the parasites. And what does the parasite need? Parasite needs a host or it dies. So you're the host. It's feeding off of you. And the problem is that the system isn't built for you. It's built for them. And you got to start unlearning this with one single decision. I will never trade my freedom for comfort again. Comfort is a killer. You have to live your life uncomfortable. And it'll all work out. You're not going to win every time, but you're not going to lose every time either. And the more that you get educated about how to make things happen, you're going to win. I mean, again, Glenn on here is a great example. And if you haven't seen his episode of Breakaway Wealth, watch it, listen to it, because Glenn, in a few years, took his government program and turned it into cash flow, and now is financially independent. It didn't take him 20 years. It didn't take him 30 years. It didn't. And all you have to do is say this out loud and write it down. That's day one of your ownership. What I just said, shifting that mindset from government, Wall Street, banks. Stop being obedient to them. They do not care about you. None of them do. Okay. No one cares about you. You care about you. All right. Guilt is a trap. So here's the question. How do I confront the guilt of breaking away from the script my parents gave me? And I think the question was a little bit more detailed than that, but I kind of summarized it. But it was like, hey, my parents taught me to save. Like even when I was a kid, they said they did like chores and they had to save a certain portion of it, and then to even maybe pay tax or something. What a terrible thing to teach your kid. Is Robert Kiyosaki said it best: savers are losers. I don't mean that they're losers because they're stupid. They've been trained the wrong thing. And let's be honest, your parents loved you, but were they wealthy? If they were, they would have taught you a totally different system. Okay. I didn't have parents really, but my adopted parents, my foster parents, they were poor. What did they teach me about money? I have no idea. I didn't listen. Actually, you know what? I'll tell you one thing my adopted dad told me one time. He said, and this was when I was like 18 years old, and my football career was coming to an abrupt end. And I started working at Gold's Gyms. And he said, hey, don't let them pay you commission. You get a salary. And I said, oh, so I went, and then they said, no, we pay commissions. You sell a health club membership, you get paid a commission. I was like, that seems fair. I mean, the more that I sell, the more that money I make. What's he talking about? And I thought, well, he's never had any money. That year at 18, selling health club memberships part-time while going to school, I made like $32,000. The most he ever made in his life driving a trash truck. And then at one point in time, he was like a handyman, was $28,000. This is a long time ago. And I wish I could get a handyman for 28 grand a year now. It was eye-opening. He didn't know anything about money. Now, your parents probably had more money than that, but they don't know anything about money. They only know what they were taught. So what do you do when you have a false belief, when you've been taught something that's not true? Well, you debate it. Like, who taught it to you? My parents. Then you debate the logic of it, just like it was in court. What's the evidence? Well, they didn't have any money. How do they know? Or even if they did have money. Gosh, my dad in retirement spent all of his money. My mom, then once he died, my mom lived on it. And then we had to bring her to our house because she ran out of money. I mean, those are stories that I hear every day, right? But let's be honest. They were trapped in a broken system too. They were doing the best with bad information. And you can respect their effort, but don't inherit their limits. Guilt is a chain that keeps you in mediocrity. You want to honor your parents? Win so big your kids never have to ask these questions ever again. And I'll tell you another story. I've been married twice. I had a practice marriage when I was 22. Girlfriend, I married my girlfriend 2 weeks before our daughter was born. I know I did all these things the right way. See how it's so easy for me. Just kidding. But her sister married a guy, and they were like a little bit younger, so they were getting out of high school. And I said, Brian, where are you going to go to college? I'm not going to college. You're not? And I thought, what a loser. You're not going to college. Wow. Now, by the way, I was like about ready to fail out of college. And I just didn't realize it yet. And then he was like, I'm not going to college. My family owns motels on the western slope of Colorado. Then we also own this, we own that. We got rental properties, blah, 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 blah. And I was too dumb to know anything. I was programmed. Nope, that can't be the way. And this guy was right. I mean, again, I learned these things so young, but I did not accept them. So they went out, they didn't go to college. They went out and bought a motel and they cleaned it. They worked it. They did it, just a small motel, then 2, then 3, then 4. And now they live in a 15,000 square foot home and they've got like 10 Serve Pro franchises and they've sold some of them, and bought some other ones. Same thing with my friend Rob Chinsky and Linda Chinsky. They own like 50 Penn Station sub shops, never even been in one, right? They were taught the same thing. Rob worked at those and now he owns 35 of them. So I don't know if he went to college or not. So honoring your parents, that's winning, right? All right. So if I stop saving in my 401k, this was a question, or my IRA, where do I put it? Okay. So first you have to understand something. An IRA is not a savings. 401k is not a savings. It's an investment. The definition of an investment is the risk of losing everything. That means you're gambling to some degree, right? So it's tax deferred, it's government partnered, it's market risk exposed, but it's a time bomb. It's a time bomb. And people will tell you that Jack Bogle, who started Vanguard funds, he says, tell me another system where you put in all the money, you take all the risk for 30% of the reward. Now, when I put it like that, who would put money in those things? Not people that understand these things. So you have to start with order of operations. Liquidity first. Capital you can access. Not at 59 and a half. And I have to say that I'm over 59 and a half now. I've been waiting for that for a long time. And I never really, I guess I wanted it to come because what's the alternative? But okay, so you have to be able to access the cash now. This is where infinite banking comes in. Okay. You become the bank. You are the store up warehouse of wealth. That capital inside a properly structured, dividend paying, growth, cash value, whole life insurance from a mutual insurance company, because you own part of the company that way. And the dividend is a return of profits to the owners. It's tax advantage, protected, and it's guaranteed to grow every single day. It's not like a universal life where you could lose money or it could be flat or whatever. And next, so you have that. Control. Okay. That's next. You use the capital to buy assets, that cash flow, right? Now, by the way, if you're saving money, you're a dentist and you're leasing your operatories and you start paying yourself that interest, that's cash flow. Okay. The company is paying you individually. That's cash flow. You buy cash flowing assets. You start small, fund the business. I saw this restaurant supply or bar supply business down here in Naples. They want like 200 grand for it and it nets $50,000-$60,000 a year. They've already got people in there running it, and they're just old. They just, they don't know what to do next. They have plenty of money. You could buy real estate, invest in what you understand, though. That's what George Clausen says in the Richest Man in Babylon. There are things that you know that I don't. Talking to Nathan and talking about forestry and like, how do we invest in forestry? I don't know that, but I trust Nathan, and I would partner with Nathan in 2 seconds. He knows it. So I'm good, right? Let's go. Okay, now remember, so those 2 things, and the faster you do it in every race, what wins? Velocity. Doesn't matter if it's a car, running, right? Even golf. The velocity, normally the further you hit the ball, the better you do. Don't park money. Do not park your money. Okay, motion is a law of God. If blood doesn't flow in and out of our lungs, we die. If blood doesn't flow through our veins, we die. If water doesn't flow, it becomes stagnant, which means it's dying, right? And if money doesn't flow and it doesn't move, it's dying. So it has to move, but not just move to move, with a purpose. What's the purpose of actually building cash flow? If I said you were never going to have another dollar in your bank, but every month you were going to have $1 million of passive cash flow, you'd say, great. I don't care if the bank loves me or hates me. right? And it was all going to be paid in crypto. Anyway, we won't get into that subject. All right, what does control look like? So here's what the question was, more detailed, but it was basically, what does control look like daily? Like on the daily level. So basically what I mean by control is, it looks like this. You decide where your money goes, not a mutual fund manager in New York, right? You decide how much passive income you need to be free. You decide, and how close you are to it every single day, and you track it, right? You track, hey, some people need $200,000, some people need 2 million. I don't know what the range is, but whatever it is, when your ideal lifestyle is supported 100% by your assets and not your time, then you have control and you have freedom. And you know how much, and then you don't hope, the next part of control is you don't hope that the market goes up. You create income regardless of the market. It does not affect you. Okay. And you make moves based on strategy, not fear. And the way that you do that is you have to educate yourself a little bit. And then you start tracking cash flow. You have a ledger, right? Like, one of the shifts is to start running your life like a business. And I know there's a lot of people on this call that we sent the book out to, and hopefully they came already, or you're going to get them this week. I know Lydia has sent out everything that people have, that you're not a consumer anymore. You're going to make that mind shift today. You're done, right? You are not going to think like a customer or consumer anymore. You're going to be the bank. You're going to be the owner. And you're going to be the owner of your life today, right? So so the next question, what are the steps? How do I get out of Wall Street without blowing up my life? This is what they mean. And again, if you haven't listened to Glenn's episode, go back and listen, or go and listen to it. Is they start saying, the first thing I would do is stop contributing any new money to an IRA. Okay, freeze, like no more, stop. And can you get your money out of that? Yes, you can. Can you do it painlessly? Pretty painlessly, but you got to be educated. You have to understand depreciation, maybe cost segregation, right? Accelerated depreciation. And you got to understand how to do that, what the property, what's it going to look like? How am I going to move my money out of my 401k and either pay the penalty or pay nothing, depending on how much money that you can depreciate, right? I mean, I did a great investment last year, an oil and gas thing. And, when I thought I was going to have to write a bigger check, the check that I had to write was like half of what I thought. And I said, well, how? And they said, well, all of these credits. Again, I've told this story before, but I don't know, it was probably 2017, maybe 2018. And I was walking by a TV. It wasn't my TV. And the Today Show was on. And they said, Donald Trump's a horrible businessman. He lost over $1 billion between this 10 years and this 10 years. And that's why he doesn't want to release his tax returns. And I thought, oh no, they're going to tell everybody about depreciation and how you could, not pay taxes and everything else, the things that wealthy people know. No, they just wanted to bash Donald Trump. And I don't care if you love him or hate him. Okay. But that was the reality, is if you think that he is not making any money, then you're crazy. But also, he's not paying any taxes, because the rich people are the ones and the congressmen are the ones that wrote the code, right? And they're not getting rid of depreciation, right? That's not going to happen. So you start building that liquidity. Okay. So you stop contributing money, start building liquidity via infinite banking. This is your financial warehouse of wealth. And once your warehouse has capital, use it slowly to transfer risk out of paper and into assets that you control. Instead of instruments, that's what I'm saying it as paper, assets that you control, real estate, businesses. And no, do not be afraid. You will not win every time, but you won't lose every time either. All you have to do is bat better than 500. And I guarantee you, with some education, you can bat 700 or 800. I would never fail if I invested in 10 things, that 2 of them would not fail. One of them maybe, one of them flat maybe, and one or 2 winners, home run winners or triple winners. The rest of them somewhere in the middle. Okay, I have control. Now what's my job? Build that stuff. Build it, make it better. Map out the assets versus the liabilities. Track real income producing assets versus everything else. So that's how you know, are you batting 700 or 800? And once you're, then you don't yank the wheel and crash the car when something seems like when you go, okay, you know what? That business just isn't working, or that property isn't going to cash flow the way I thought it was. Exit with precision. This is a strategy, not a rebellion. It's not reaction. It's responding. It's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it. But can you do it? Absolutely. Then one person said, I need a system, and it feels overwhelming to go through this checklist of how to make this shift. So I'm going to break it down into 4 phases. And one of the phases is awareness. Read Ownershift, read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, read Becoming Your Own Banker. Watch the videos and the free courses on our community. Watch where your money actually goes. Write down where all of your money goes. Put it in a ledger. Okay, so phase 2 is control. Start your infinite banking policy. Cancel future contributions to any Wall Street traps. Build a monthly cash flow ledger, just like a real business. All right, so 3 is the movement. Borrow against the policy, invest in something you understand. If you don't understand anything about cash flow or anything, then learn. I just gave you a bunch of resources. There's a million other ones out there. Rinse and repeat with velocity and purpose. Now, why purpose? Well, in my belief system, I believe that when you're serving other people and you're doing God's work, that you're going to be rewarded more and more and more. So if I take over a mobile home park that has a bunch of potholes, like one new client talked about to me, then I fix them and I make the people happier there and I make their lives better and I serve them. And do I make money? Sure, I make money. Okay, but I own the business. The business is there to make money. So you rinse and repeat with velocity and purpose. And then the 4th phase is ownership. Own your income, own your time, and own your future. That's what everybody wants. Okay, stop exchanging time for money. Get these assets to provide all the income that you need. And if you send before I say that, let me just kind of wrap this up. The employee mindset or self-employed mindset is comfortable, but it's a cage. I mean, some of us have nice cages. You weren't born to be in a cage. Okay. Employees wait, owners build, and winners control the game. They write the game. You get to play your game. Glenn is playing his game. Mobile home parks or multifamily, right? That's his game. He decided the rules of the game. He decided the board. Nobody can tell him, yeah, you're not playing that game right. Okay. You don't need a perfect plan. You need a powerful decision. Ownershift and starts now, right now. And so if you want a checklist, then send Heather an email, heather@createtailwind.com. I just created this checklist, okay, of it's not elaborate. It's just, what did your parents, your teachers, financial advisors teach you? What of that is truth and what's tradition? And I just want you to think about this stuff. I don't have all the answers for you on all this, but then you read Ownershift, you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you read Becoming Your Own Banker, you watch the courses, and then you calculate your number. What's the math? What's your optimal cash flow on a monthly basis? What's your current passive income? What's the gap to close the difference? I mean, this is, again, remember, I'm not, I was not in the advanced courses in school. I keep things simple. But you know what? I have the best life. I mean, I'm free to do what I want to do when I want to do it with whoever I want to do it with. And I want everyone in this audience to have that and more, because your dreams might be bigger. Okay. So let me see if there's some other questions in here. What's your experience with a IBC policy 20-year that has over $1 million cash value? From what you've seen, do you see your clients pulling 90%? I'll tell you here, this is the reality, Glenn. And I say this to people, and I sometimes don't think it sinks in. Because of the cash flowing assets, my policies have too much money coming back into them. One, they won't hold it all, and I keep expanding. The velocity is so fast now after 20 years, some more than 20 years, that it comes in just too fast. And so that's a good problem to have, right? My bank probably has more of my money than they should because I'm always looking to deploy it. And I'm kind of getting to that point where it's like, I have plenty of passive cash flow. So do I keep building? Yeah, I keep building. Why? Because I want to have the question, hey, what did you do after you were 60? Oh, I tripled my cash flow and I didn't need it. So guess what? If I don't need it, who gets it? No, not my kids. Sorry, don't tell them. Okay. But because I don't want to ruin them. But things I care about. I mean, I've given money to people for things that I sometimes shake my head like, hey, did they take advantage of that? Maybe. Do I care? No, it's not my money anyway. And again, in my belief system, you don't have to have my belief system, but it's God's money in my belief system. So it's on helping other people. I mean, I love to do that. Okay. So 2 to 3 years of focus on cash flowing assets. Yeah, exactly, Glenn. Right. And Glenn says I would have left my 9 to 5 sooner if I were doing IBC. Absolutely. Yeah, and then Nathan says, Glenn, I would have all my equipment paid off already if I started when I first heard about IBC. Yeah, I I tell people that all the time too, Nathan, is, like, again, I'll tell the story as I kind of wrap up. Wait a minute, let me just make sure. If you have a 401k in your current company, they may not let you pull it. Yeah, that's true. You can borrow it from it though, and there's other places. And yes, when you become the owner, you will have unlimited places to invest your money. I love that, Glenn, because if I asked you 10 years ago, would you be doing what you're doing now? You probably would say, I could tell you I've invested in things that there's no way I could have known that I was going to invest in. Right. But let's see, what was the one? Oh, good. You're halfway through the book. Sweet. If you can't pull the 401k, I've tried that in the past. Yeah, you just have to I know what it is about starting IBC. So let me just remind people in the 3 minutes that we have left, and I appreciate everybody hanging in there for the full 30 minutes, is there was I was running this financial planning firm, and one of my top guys, Jeff Quinlan was his name. He died at 46 years old of lung cancer. It went to his brain. So I think it's still considered lung cancer. But he never smoked, never drank, was like the healthiest guy that I've ever gone to lunch with, because he would make people modify every meal that he ever had. But he got cancer, and I went down to his office. His dad was in the financial planning business. So where did he learn everything? From his dad. And he was notoriously late. And he had this stack of books on his bookshelf in his lobby. And he said, and it was Nelson's book. It was Becoming Your Own Banker. And I said, oh, I've seen this somewhere. He goes, oh, you can have a copy. It doesn't work. And I was like, okay, well, do I want to read a book on something that doesn't work? So I took it. It sat on my desk. I can still see that desk. And it sat on the right side corner where I had books that I was supposed to read that I hadn't, stacked. And one day I grabbed it. I read through it. And I said, this is just like a way to sell more life insurance. I told you I wasn't very smart. I just poo-pooed it. Didn't think anything about it. And then I read it again. I thought, wait a minute. This guy, there's something about this, the way this guy's talking, right? So then I went to Texas, and I watched Nelson for 10 hours. And I thought, I still don't get it. This guy's either brilliant or a shyster, and I don't know which one. And I asked him tons of questions in breaks after the thing. He said, after the seminar, after 10 hours, I still didn't get it, because my mindset was so set in stone that the paradigm was, hey, I'm a financial planner. It was this assets under management game. I'm telling you, it's a game. And Nelson said, you should come back in 2 weeks. I'm doing it again in 2 weeks. And halfway through that seminar, so 5 hours in, I'm 15 hours in, plus I read the book twice. Okay, so anybody that's not getting this, I think you'll get it faster than me. And it hit me. And I was like, oh my goodness. This is everything from every book that I've ever read about how to be financially free. And this is the system on how to control it. All of the objections, can't get the money, can't control this, I can't control that. The banks are going to say no. Took all that away. And so whatever you have to do to make these shifts that we just went through today and change, yeah, it glues the missing pieces together, Glenn. Exactly right. I know there are people out there that are thinking about doing infinite banking, and everybody that's doing it wishes they would have done it sooner, including me, by the way. Could you imagine if I had started when I was 23? I have 25-year-olds that say, gosh, I wish I would have known about this sooner. I would just want to smack them upside the head. Like, hey, you got plenty of time. You're going to be financially independent by 35. Most people are never financially independent. They're slaves the day they take their last breath. And remember, all illness and disease comes from stress. And hoping you don't run out of money, that's stressful. And hoping you make enough money to pay your bills is stressful. So you can't have stress your whole life and think you're going to live to 120. Because I tell everybody I'm 60 now. That's halfway. But anyway, thank you all for being here. And we'll be back next week. I hope that you got something out of this and that it helped in some way. And just make that shift today and read the book. Godspeed. Have a great weekend. And I'll see you next week. Thank you.